Right, in this video we're going to show you how to factorise expressions. We already know how to expand a bracket, so for instance, if you see 3x minus 2, we know that we need to multiply everything inside the bracket by 3. This becomes 3x take away 6. A common mistake is to not multiply the 3 with the 2 to make the 6. Factorising is the opposite of this. Imagine you've got the answer already. So we've got 4y plus 12 and we want to take it back to a question with a bracket in it. For this example, we notice two things. We notice that there's a 4 there and a 12 there, and that they're both in the 4 times table. So we take that 4 out, we open a bracket, and then we say to ourselves, what do I multiply 4 by to make 4y? So I had to multiply by y. I can now see a plus sign, so I put a plus sign in my answer, and then finally I can see 12. 4 times what makes 12? Then that must be 3. I've now factorised the expression. For this next example, I can see a 6, an 18 and a 12, and I can also see that all letters are different. So I can only factorise one thing. I can only factorise the numbers. These numbers 6, 12 and 18 appear in the 1 times table, the 2 times table, the 3 times table and the 6 times tables. Therefore, I always factorise by the highest times table that they appear in. So I take the 6 out, I open the bracket, and then I work out what I multiply 6 by to return back to the question. So 6 times m is 6m. I can see a plus sign. 6 times 3 will give me 18. I can see an n. I can now see a minus sign. And 6 times 2 will give me 12, and I can see a p. And that is my answer. For this next example, I have a 1 and a 3, so the only number that goes into that is 1, so we can discount taking out the number. But what I can see that's common is a letter. So I must take out the letter. Y times an x will get me back to that. I can see a subtraction sign, and y times 3 will get me back to that. That one is now finished. With this next example, again, I will not be able to take out a number because only 1 goes into 2 and 3, but instead I can take out a letter. So I take out a single t. T times t again will take me to t squared. I can see a plus sign, and t times 3 will give me 3t. There's my next answer. For this next harder example, I can see a 5 and a 10, and 5 is the biggest number that goes into both, so I take the 5 out. I can also see an n, so I can take an n out as well. These are my 2 factors. So I open the bracket, and what do I multiply 5n by to get 5mn? So I need to multiply by an m. I can see a minus sign, and then finally, how do I change a 5n into a 10n squared? Well, 5 times 2 is 10, and n times another n will give me that n squared. There's my answer. This is the final example, and let's look at the numbers first. I can see a 12 and a 16. Now 1, 2, 4 go into those numbers. So let's take out the highest common factor, which is 4. Now let's look at the common letters. I can see a P, so we take the P out, and finally I can also see a letter Q. So we take the letter Q out as well. So I've got 3 factors, a 4, a P and a Q. So how do I change a 4PQ into a 12P squared Q? Well, I've got to times by 3, and I've got to times by P again to get that P squared. I can now see a plus sign, and finally turning a 4PQ into a 16PQR, I'd times by 4 and I'd need to times by R, and there's my answer.